Hi there, business owner, and welcome to the 3Bs podcast, the place where we go beyond the numbers and dive into strategies to help you build a better business one step at a time. I'm your host, Stephanie, a multi-award-winning entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in the bookkeeping and accountancy world. If you're a business owner looking to streamline, grow, and get back the time that you deserve, you're in the right place. We're tackling real-world problems, answering tough questions, and digging deep into business building secrets in just 15 minutes each week. So are you ready to build a better business with confidence and clarity? Then let's go. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast, your go-to place for 15 minutes of CPD certified education, motivation and inspiration to help you build a better business. If you're new here, hi, I'm Stephanie, an entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in the bookkeeping and accountancy world, running my own business and building my business alongside you. So today we're talking about a topic that is really calling myself out, that is really something that I have struggled with throughout my time as a business owner, and that is procrastination. Not laziness, not I can't be bothered, not someone sat scrolling on social media instead of doing their work by choice. I'm talking about the kind of procrastination that looks like being productive, and I think as business owners we are all so guilty of this. The avoiding, the delaying, I'll do it when it's not so busy. For bookkeepers and accountants, we have what we call a February list because January is so busy with tax season and self-assessments that we have this list in February where things just keep getting added that I'll do this in February. I'll do this in February once it quietens down. And guess what? We're over halfway through February and I'm busier than I was in January. So, yep, I do it too. But procrastination is expensive and you don't just get an invoice for it. So what actually is procrastination? So let's get clear on the definitions because I think that really matters here. One of the most commonly used definitions in research is that procrastination is the voluntary delay of an intended course of action despite expecting to be worse off for that delay. That despite expecting to be worse off bit is important because that's why procrastination does your head in. It's not that you don't know, you do know, but you delay it anyway. And research doesn't treat procrastination as a time management problem either. It's more typically framed as a self-regulation problem, which is really common in those that are neurodiverse or neurospicy. Basically, it's about managing your emotions, impulses, and discomfort. So if you've ever said, I work best under pressure, you might be right in the short term, but research suggests that any short-term relief can come with longer-term costs. I am the first person that will leave things to the last possible minute and then work like flat out overnight to get things done. My fiance knows that Wednesday evenings are podcast editing night. So we record usually on a Monday. Sometimes we'll record in batch. I don't edit in batch, which is something I must get better at doing as we're episode 151 and counting. Procrastination can feel good in the moment. Now, there's a reason why procrastination is so common, even amongst those high performers. In White Rose research by Cirrhose and Cycle, I apologize if I'm butchering those names, they describe procrastination as being driven by short-term mood repair. You avoid the task because the task triggers discomfort, uncertainty, boredom, or fear of getting it wrong. Now, as business owners, I'm sure at least one of those is present in most things that we do. With procrastination, you do something else that makes you feel better right now. You get that hit of dopamine so that you can feel good in the short term. And that explains why procrastination often shows up around business tasks that are emotionally loaded. So those conversations you don't want to have, pricing conversations, chasing money when invoices go overdue, looking at your numbers, seeing where the business actually sits on the balance sheet and the profit and loss. Making that decision that you can't undo easily, that's hiring, sometimes a firing decision, those sorts of disciplines are quite hard to do unemotionally. Like emotion is just part of that. So it's not that you're incapable of having those conversations. It's that your brain would like to feel comfortable and they make you feel uncomfortable. Now, the problem with that is that comfort now usually means chaos and stress later down the road. This is where I want to bring in a classic study because it describes what a lot of business owners experience. Tice and Baumeister, again, apologies for any butchering of names, they did some longitudinal research and found that procrastinators can feel better early on, less stressed at the beginning, but later they report even more stress, more illness, and overall worse outcomes. They also performed worse on assignments and exams, so their actual results were less if they procrastinated. Yes, in the short term, procrastination can feel like relief, but Research is suggesting that it tends to catch up with you, and I feel really called out. Now, obviously that study was with students, not business owners, but the pattern is still the same. Something I experienced myself. In business, the early term is I'll do the VAT return later. I'll review my prices and I'll do them next month, or I'll chase that invoice that's owed tomorrow. I'll sort the bookkeeping when things calm down. Now, the late term is deadline pressure. Things like VAT return and most financial things in your business have very strict deadlines that you can't stretch, extend, or go over. Firefighting, panicking decisions, and usually paying more in time, energy, and money because you're doing it under pressure. A great example of this is self-assessment season. If you wait until January to do your self-assessment, you've had since the April, it's going to be more expensive for you, it's going to be more stressful for you, and you're going to be under a lot more of a time constraint, hoping your accountant can get it done for you in that. So like I said, there's a financial cost to this too. Now, I'm not going to throw a random number at you like procrastination costs UK businesses X billion a year, because those stats so heavily depend on how they are calculated. And as we know, each business is unique. But we can say something evidence-based and still useful. Procrastination is associated with poorer performance outcomes in research. And in business terms, poorer performance outcomes can often show up as missed opportunities, rushed deadlines, late filing, poor record keeping, avoidable penalties, and wasted time doing tasks twice because you rushed the first attempt. It's also worth knowing that the research links procrastination to higher stress over time as well. That's not just a well-being issue, because stress affects decision-making, focus, and follow-through. So the cost isn't just money, it's how you run your business day to day. Research also shows a consistent link between procrastination and poorer health outcomes. So for a business owner, it's not just a financial and a business cost, your health and physical energy is also affected. For example, researchers found procrastination is associated with poorer health behaviors and delaying seeking treatment, with stress playing a role in the relationship. How many times have we gone, oh, I've got this aching pain, I'll get it seen to if it's still hurting in a week's time. Or I've got a headache that just won't go away. Like if it's still there in a week, then I'll go and see the doctor. Again, you're not a student in the lab, but this still affects you as a business owner. If you delay the difficult thing long enough, you carry it around mentally and physically. It sits in the background like an open tab on your browser. And if you're thinking, well, that's me, I've got 47 tabs open all the time, I mean, same. That ongoing load drains energy and makes everything feel harder than it should. And for those that are parents or carers as well as business owners, we've got 47 business tabs open and 100 personal tabs too. Home life, gym, managing a house, cooking dinners, whatever it may be. That load really does drain you and can make you physically sick. Also, business procrastination is quite sneaky and is pretty dangerous because you can procrastinate while still looking productive. And I think this is where the business owners is really relevant. So you can update your website, tidy your Canva folders, sort your storage on your OneDrive or your Google, create a new spreadsheet, research endlessly, all while avoiding the thing that actually changes your business. Again, so guilty. If you're avoiding one of these 6 things, then you're probably procrastinating. 1, pricing, either upping your price, changing your price, raising your prices. 2, cash collection. Small businesses are plagued by late payments. It really does affect not only the economy, but the business owner himself or herself as they grow and build something. They are still having to pay a mortgage, put food on the table, and chasing those overdue invoices is one of the things that many business owners procrastinate on. Reviewing costs. So again, having to let go of some subscriptions or having to make difficult decisions on removing a service or changing a supplier. Those sorts of things. Number 4, letting go of bad fit clients. We've talked about this on the podcast before. It's one of the biggest lessons I learned in business is saying no and disengaging if it's service-based, or no longer selling products if you're a product-based, to a bad fit client or customer. 5, having one uncomfortable conversation. Now that could be a HR conversation, it could be a supplier letting go of, it could be any conversation in your business that's uncomfortable for you. And number 6, looking at the numbers properly. Now, I wouldn't be a good bookkeeper and accountant without mentioning that, because so many business owners bury their head in the sand. They don't want to look at the numbers because they actually make them feel uncomfortable. So they just carry on with the day-to-day without actually looking at how their business is growing, if it's growing, and how profitable they are. And do you know what the common thread is between all 6 of those things? Emotion. It's not skill, it's not intelligence, it's emotion. The task itself carries a level of discomfort for you, so you delay it. This is the bit I want you to take seriously. If you take anything from this episode, it's that small delays compound. A month of avoidance of that particular task, you can recover from. But a whole year of avoidance, you've built a pattern. Research supports that procrastination is strongly tied to task aversiveness and delay. In other words, the more unpleasant and the more future the task feels, the more likely you are to procrastinate on it. Which explains why year-end tasks like tax planning, pricing reviews, and sorting your finances get pushed until they're urgent. But urgency is expensive. Urgency will make you choose the first option and not necessarily the best option. Urgency will make you rush and make mistakes. Urgency will also make you pay late fees and penalties. Overpay because you didn't shop around, and saying yes to quick cash work that doesn't fit. Go back to the episode about bad fit clients a couple of episodes ago. Urgency increases stress, which then increases avoidance, and suddenly you're stuck in that loop over and over again. So what's the fix to this? Well, this is not an episode telling you to learn discipline and wake up at 5 a.m. Like we're in the real world here at the 3Bs podcast. The fix is much simpler than that. You shorten the gap between I should deal with that and I've dealt with it. Because that gap is often where your profit is disappearing and your calm is disappearing too. Here's a simple way to do it this week. Number 1, name the avoided task. Whatever it is, not a vague one like sort your finances or make a call to so-and-so. It needs to be specific. Download the bank transactions, raise the invoice, chase the overdue invoice, check what your VAT bill will roughly be, review your top 3 costs and expenses, decide your price increase and the date it's going to start, email that client who drains you. Whatever that first step is, get it written down, get it noted down. Acceptance and acknowledging it is the first step to getting that period shorter between I'm going to deal with it and I've done it. Step 2, lower the standard. Now, this is so important. When I was researching for this episode at the science behind procrastination, this is the bit that sort of lit the light bulb in my own mind. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to get it done. Procrastination thrives when you think the task has to be big, tiny, and final. It doesn't. You don't need to be perfect. It does not have to be the best piece of work, the best attempt at that task you've ever done. It just needs to be done. Step 3, because the hardest part is starting, just do the first 10 minutes. Research points to procrastination being linked to self-regulation and emotion management, not a lack of ability. So starting here is the win. And once you've started, the discomfort usually drops, momentum starts to build, and before you know it, that big scary task is done. And I want you to think of a time where you were procrastinating on something that caused you a lot of anxiety or a lot of stress. Maybe it was making that phone call to the HMRC or picking up the phone to a bookkeeper or an accountant to say, I need some help. Remember that time? Remember that feeling? Now remember the feeling when you made that phone call. It was done. Things were starting to be put in place. You had a plan to sort HMRC. You finally had a bookkeeper or an accountant on your side helping you with the finances in your business. That relief. That's what we're going for. But without all the stress and the anxiety and the build-up, just the relief. If this episode made you think of something you've been avoiding, good. That's the whole point. Procrastination isn't a personality flaw. It's usually just a signal that something feels uncomfortable, uncertain, or has high stakes. But now we know that avoiding it doesn't make it smaller. It actually makes it heavier. If you want support with the bits you keep putting off, whether that's your numbers, your pricing, your systems and processes, or just getting clarity on what's actually happening in your business, you'll find all the links to work with ABCS UK in the show notes. We do have a 15-minute free discovery call, so sometimes you just need that first 15 minutes to get you off on the right track. If this episode helped, please do like, rate, review wherever you're watching or listening to it. Subscribe if you're on YouTube and hit that notification bell so you know when the next episode goes live. It genuinely helps this podcast reach more business owners who need to hear it. If you do take some action on something you've been procrastinating from the back of this episode, please do find us on social media, drop me an email, all the links are in the show notes. Come find me and let me know that this has actually made an impact on you, because that really, really lights me up and makes me happy. This has been episode 151 of the 3Bs podcast. I've been Stephanie, and I'll see you next week for the next one. Bye. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. I hope you found it useful and that you're walking away with some motivation, inspiration, or education to help you build a better business. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and of course connect with us on social media for more insights, tips, and behind the scenes content. Your next step in building a better business is just a click away. I can't wait to connect with you, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.